Blackstone Dam stood deep in the frozen mountains of Alaska, surrounded by endless forests and violent snowstorms. The massive hydroelectric structure had operated for over 50 years, but every worker feared one place beneath the facility. Tunnel 7. Nobody entered it alone. Nobody stayed there after midnight. And if anyone heard screaming beneath the water, they were told to run immediately. Lucas Reed arrived during a brutal winter storm, after several maintenance workers disappeared inside the lower tunnels. Lucas was a former military engineer hired to investigate structural failures beneath the dam. The moment he arrived, he noticed something disturbing. The valley was silent. No birds. No animals. Only the sound of freezing wind across the black reservoir. Director Warren Hale greeted him nervously. "People are disappearing underground," Warren admitted. Inside the control room, workers looked terrified. Security guards carried rifles. Several engineers refused to work night shifts anymore. Lucas immediately reviewed the security footage. One recording showed a worker entering Tunnel 7 during a blackout. Red emergency lights flickered across the flooded corridor, while water slowly rose around the man's boots. Then something moved beneath the surface, a gigantic shadow. The worker turned around. The camera filled with static. He vanished. That night, Lucas heard the screaming himself. At exactly 2:13 a.m., thousands of voices echoed through the steel pipes beneath the dam. The sound was not human. Workers froze in fear. Some began praying. Lucas decided to inspect Tunnel 7 personally. The next morning, he descended underground with 2 armed security officers. The deeper they traveled, the colder the tunnels became. Ice covered the walls. Strange claw marks scarred reinforced steel doors. Eventually, they reached a massive flooded generator chamber. Black water filled most of the room. Then, a pale face floated upward. It belonged to one of the missing workers. His eyes were completely white. The corpse slowly smiled before sinking back beneath the water. Suddenly, something enormous moved underneath them. The entire chamber shook violently. A gigantic pale hand burst from the water. The creature's body looked transparent, and human skeletons floated inside its skin. The guards opened fire. The bullets did nothing. The monster screamed with thousands of human voices at once. Lucas barely escaped as the chamber collapsed behind him. Back inside the control station, Director Warren finally revealed the truth. Blackstone Dam had never been built for electricity. During construction in 1962, excavation teams discovered an ancient frozen organism buried beneath the valley. Scientists believed the creature was older than humanity itself. The government secretly built the dam to keep the thing trapped beneath freezing water forever. But climate changes had begun melting the ice. The creature was waking up. That same night, the storm knocked out power across the facility. Emergency lights flashed red. Then the screaming stopped. Silence filled the tunnels. Moments later, the frozen reservoir exploded upward. The gigantic creature emerged from beneath the ice. It towered over the dam like a nightmare. Its body shifted like living water, while trapped human faces twisted beneath its transparent skin. Workers ran screaming as the creature smashed into the concrete walls. The dam began collapsing. Lucas and Warren activated hidden demolition charges placed beneath the foundation decades earlier. Massive explosions shattered the structure. Millions of gallons of freezing water crashed onto the creature. For several moments, it disappeared beneath the flood. Then Lucas saw a gigantic shadow moving under the black water. The creature slowly opened its glowing white eyes and smiled. Hollow Valley Dam officially did not exist. Government maps showed nothing except empty mountains and forests. No roads led there. No civilians were allowed near the region. But hidden beneath those mountains stood one of the largest underground facilities ever built. Dr. Emily Voss arrived after several scientists vanished. Inside the underground complex, the moment she entered the facility, she realized something felt wrong. Most of the dam existed underground. Gigantic concrete walls surrounded a black underground reservoir stretching endlessly into darkness. Workers called it the bottomless lake. Nobody knew how deep it actually was. Commander Isaac Wren escorted Emily through the underground sectors. Every hallway contained armed guards. Entire research areas remained sealed behind blast doors. And everywhere she went, workers avoided looking toward the reservoir. Emily eventually asked Isaac what the facility truly contained. He answered quietly, "Something we never should have discovered." The strange events started 6 months earlier. Workers reported hearing whispers through the ventilation systems at night. Then people began disappearing. Security footage showed pale humanoid creatures crawling through flooded maintenance tunnels beneath the reservoir. Some moved across ceilings like insects. Others vanished directly into the black water. One night, Emily heard the whispers herself. Soft voices echoed outside her room. At first, they sounded distant. Then she realized they were repeating her name. Emily followed the sound into an abandoned observation deck overlooking the underground reservoir. The black water stretched endlessly beneath the dam. Then she saw a human face floating beneath the surface. Its eyes suddenly opened. The thing smiled before disappearing into darkness. The next morning, Isaac revealed the truth. Decades earlier, drilling teams discovered an enormous alien structure buried beneath Hollow Valley. At its center rested a gigantic living organism scientists called the heart. The organism produced incredible geothermal energy. The government secretly built Hollow Valley Dam around it. For years, the heart remained dormant. Then it started beating again. Each pulse triggered earthquakes beneath the mountains, and every time the heart beat, more workers disappeared. Isaac escorted Emily into the restricted lower sectors. There she finally saw the organism. A gigantic red biological mass rested beneath the reservoir, connected to the earth through thousands of vein-like structures. The thing pulsed slowly like a living heart. Then, emergency alarms activated. Containment breach. Security cameras revealed pale creatures flooding from underground tunnels. Anyone bitten transformed within minutes. Skin turned gray. Eyes blackened. Bones twisted unnaturally. Chaos consumed the underground facility. Scientists ran screaming through smoke-filled corridors while military teams opened fire on infected creatures. Emily and Isaac escaped toward the geothermal reactor chamber. Along the way, Emily translated alien symbols carved into the cavern walls. The truth horrified her. The heart was not a power source. It was a seed, an alien biological machine designed to infect planets. Earth had been contaminated thousands of years ago, and Hollow Valley Dam had unknowingly kept the organism dormant beneath the reservoir. Until recent drilling weakened the containment systems. Inside the reactor chamber, Isaac prepared an overload sequence. Dieting the geothermal core might vaporize the underground complex. Before they escaped, the reservoir suddenly drained downward. The gigantic heart rose from the depths like a living mountain of flesh. A massive eye slowly opened at its center. The eye stared directly at Emily. Inside her mind, she heard a voice. The surf's world is ready. Ancient tunnels beneath the mountains opened one by one. Thousands of glowing eyes stared upward from the darkness below. The creatures had been waiting underground for centuries. Emily and Isaac activated the overload sequence and escaped toward the surface. Moments later, the geothermal reactor exploded. A gigantic firestorm consumed Hollow Valley. The mountains collapsed inward, while the underground facility vanished beneath fire and stone. Official reports blamed the disaster on a geothermal accident, but weeks later, strange earthquakes began spreading across nearby states. And deep beneath the earth, something enormous continued beating. Redwater Dam stood alone in the middle of a forgotten desert canyon. Nobody knew who built it. The ancient structure looked older than recorded history itself. Strange symbols covered every wall, and carved repeatedly across the dam were the same words: "Keep the water high." For centuries, local tribes avoided the canyon, believing something evil slept beneath the reservoir. Then Titan Energy Corporation arrived. The company believed valuable oil reserves existed beneath the desert. To reach them, they planned to drain the ancient reservoir completely. Archaeologist Daniel Hayes joined the excavation project after discovering strange ruins beneath the waterline. The deeper Daniel explored, the more disturbed he became. Massive chains lined underground chambers, gigantic floodgates, sealed tunnels beneath the reservoir, and everywhere he looked, the symbols repeated the same warning: "Do not the water." Daniel presented his findings to Titan Energy executives. They ignored him. The drilling continued. Soon workers began reporting terrifying nightmares. People dreamed of drowning beneath black oceans, while gigantic glowing eyes watched them through the darkness. Some workers stopped sleeping. Others went insane. One engineer tore out his own eyes while screaming, "Looking through the water." Then the disappearances began. Security teams discovered wet footprints larger than trucks leading through underground spillway tunnels. Several workers vanished during night shifts. One missing worker was later discovered standing motionless beside the reservoir. His skin had turned completely pale. When guards approached him, he whispered, "It remembers sunlight." Then he jumped into the water. Daniel finally translated the ancient symbols completely. The truth horrified him. Redwater Dam had never been built to hold water. It was built to imprison gigantic entities beneath the canyon. "Thou